Prosecutors dropped the entire case on January 20th, 2026, after 652 days of these allegations hanging over his head, and they gave no explanation for their decision. Jamel Demons, better known as YNW Melly, has been locked up in a Broward County jail cell since February 13th, 2019, which means nearly 7 years without a conviction. The double murder charges against him involve 2 of his childhood friends, and just when his legal troubles seemed to be multiplying with witness tampering allegations, the state suddenly backed down. The rise of YNW Melly Jamel Demons entered the world on May 1st, 1999, in Gifford, Florida, born to a mother who was only 14 years old when she became pregnant and gave birth to him while still in 9th grade. Jamie Demons King raised him alone, and to this day Jamel doesn't know his father, though a man named Dante the Gift Taylor has claimed to be his biological parent. Growing up in Gifford meant joining the Bloods gang at a young age, and by the time Melly was 15 in 2014 and 2015, he'd already started posting songs on SoundCloud. The stage name YNW Melly came with a crew, a collective he built with childhood friends Christopher, YNW Juvy, Thomas Jr., Anthony, YNW Sakchaser, Williams, and Courtland, YNW Bortland Henry. YNW stood for Young New Wave, depending on who you asked, and all 4 members attended Vero Beach High School together. Music wasn't the only thing happening in those teenage years. October 19th, 2015 brought an arrest for shooting at 3 students near Vero Beach High School, which led to convictions for aggravated battery, discharging a firearm in public, and 2 counts of aggravated assault. 1 year in juvenile detention followed, then probation, and during that lockup at age 16 in 2016, Melly thought up the chorus to what would become his biggest hit. Murder on My Mind landed on SoundCloud March 4th, 2017, and by June 1st, 2018, the song got an official release as a single through 300 Entertainment, the record label that had signed him. The track was gaining traction but hadn't exploded yet, and that explosion would come in the most unexpected and tragic way possible. The night that changed everything, 4 members of the YNW collective left a Fort Lauderdale recording studio in a Jeep during the pre-dawn hours of October 26, 2018. By the time that night ended, Christopher, YNW Juvy, Thomas Jr., and Anthony, YNW Sakchaser, Williams were dead, shot, and killed in Miramar, Florida, near the Everglades. These weren't just Melly's friends. They were brothers in every sense that mattered. Young men who'd grown up together, made music together, and built their dreams side by side. The initial story called it a drive-by shooting, but prosecutors would later claim that YNW Melly and Courtland Henry staged the whole scene to look that way. According to the state's theory, Melly fired the shots from inside the car, and then he and Henry worked to make it appear as though an outside attacker had struck them. The prosecution pointed to either a gang dispute or financial issues stemming from Melly's rising stardom as the motive. Phone records, ballistic reports, and surveillance video showing seating positions in the car became their evidence, along with an Instagram DM where Melly allegedly wrote, "Show. I did that when someone asked him about the deaths." February 13th, 2019 brought arrests for both YNW Melly and Courtland Henry on 2 counts of first-degree murder, and Melly entered a not guilty plea in March 2019. An unexpected chart success. And that's when something bizarre happened with Murder on My Mind, the song Melly had written over a year before these murders even occurred. The arrest news sent the track into the stratosphere, racking up 35.3 million streams in the United States alone during the week after the news broke. Apple Music's US chart saw it hit number 1. Digital sales jumped 167% to move 6,000 copies in the week ending February 21st, 2019, and the song eventually peaked at number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100 on March 2nd, 2019. International success followed, with top 10 placements in Canada, Belgium, and New Zealand. The UK official charts saw it reach number 10 under the censored title Mischief on My Mind. And by March 2019, Spotify streams had crossed 200 million, while Melly pulled in over 10 million monthly listeners on the platform. Prosecutors wanted to use the lyrics from Murder on My Mind, plus 55 other songs as evidence against him, but the defense had a powerful counter. March 4th, 2017 was when that song dropped, over a year and a half before the October 2018 murders, and Melly had thought up the chorus while locked up at age 16 in 2016, years before anyone accused him of these crimes. Life behind bars, Melly's music career exploded while he sat in a Broward County jail cell under conditions his defense attorney Raven Liberty described in harsh terms. Her August 2025 statement put it this way: "We're disappointed that today's hearing was yet another win for the state of Florida, allowing more time to subject my client to inhumane treatment. If this denial of basic constitutional rights was not outrageous enough, most of this time has been spent in solitary confinement in conditions worse than death row." Bond requests came and got denied multiple times, leaving Melly locked up without bail as his case crawled through the system. But the music kept coming, starting with his debut album Melly vs. Melvin on November 22, 2019, released while he was behind bars. The title referenced his claim about having two personalities, Melly as the good side and Melvin as the murderous one, with each personality getting 12 hours of the day, and Melly synced 12 a.m. "I can't control it after that." Diagnoses of bipolar disorder and ADHD backed up this claim. Another album called Just a Matter of Slime arrived in 2021 and peaked at number 11 on the Billboard 200. Then, Young New Wave came through an independent label called YNW in 2024. Every one of these albums used pre-recorded vocals from before his arrest, but the streaming revenue kept flowing. 10 platinum certified tracks came from his career, gold certifications for albums, I Am You and We All Shine, double platinum for Mixed Personalities with Kanye West, and Melly vs. Melvin peaked at number 8 on the Billboard 200 before earning its own gold certification. The first trial jury selection for Melly's murder trial finally kicked off on April 11, 2023, with the actual trial starting June 12, 2023, under Judge John Murphy III. The stakes couldn't get higher. Life in prison without parole or the death penalty sitting on the table as the only two possible outcomes if convicted. Phone records, ballistic evidence, and surveillance footage made up the prosecution's case, while the defense argued that enough time passed between the surveillance video and the shooting for Melly to have left, opening the door for someone else to have committed the crime. Melly never took the stand. July 22, 2023 brought a deadlocked jury after weeks of testimony, with a 9-3 vote favoring conviction on lesser manslaughter charges according to a juror interview with Local 10. Judge Murphy addressed them with these words: "These types of decisions, they're hard decisions. We very much appreciate the fact that you gave us the time because we've been here a long time. We understand that. You gave us the time and you did your best effort to bring about resolution, but unfortunately, that wasn't able to happen." A mistrial meant Melly would face another jury. The co-defendant's decision, Cortland Henry, going by YNW Bortland, had faced charges alongside Melly from day one, and both men maintained their innocence for years. But September 9, 2025 changed that, one day before Henry's own trial was scheduled to begin, when he accepted a plea deal. The terms landed at 10 years in prison followed by 6 years of probation, and prosecutors made clear that evidence would show that the defendant was present in the vehicle at the time of the shootings, but was insufficient to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he participated in a way that would make him a principal to the homicides. The deal didn't require Henry to testify against Melly, though he would give a sworn statement about his role, and his defense attorney clarified that today he did not plead guilty. He's pled no contest, so he hasn't really admitted anything. Judge Martin Fine, who'd taken over the case, seemed surprised and told Henry, "Mr. Henry, I'm not quite sure how your lawyers managed to do this, but I wish you good luck, sir." Henry entered the Florida prison system to begin serving his sentence, but before accepting the deal, he'd released a freestyle with lyrics that seemed to address his situation. "What do I look like taking a deal that hurt my friends?" John M. Phillips, representing the victims' families, saw it differently and stated, "As predicted, YNW Bortland took the plea deal. He also agreed to a proffer, which means he's talking." The witness tampering allegations around 2023, roughly 3 years before the witness tampering charges disappeared, prosecutors filed additional accusations against Melly, claiming he was working with Cortland Henry and another inmate named Terrence Mathis to prevent Melly's ex from testifying in the double murder case. January 21st, 2026 was set for the witness tampering trial to begin with jury selection on Wednesday, confirmed by Judge Martin Fine on December 13th, 2025. Melly's legal team had prepared their defense strategy, wanting to hide the murder charges from the tampering jury because they argued it would be highly prejudicial. Requests to photograph his jail cell to show his isolation setup went in, along with attempts to exclude his song lyrics as evidence and block social media records from 2018 and 2019. And they won at least one victory when Melly got permission to wear regular clothes instead of jail attire at trial. Melly's manager, 100K Track, spoke about it in December 2025. He's in great spirits. Older, he's 26. Been in this situation for a lot more. This is the most confident and comfortable we've ever felt because of the counsel that we have. New attorneys Drew Finling and Carrie Howout came on board and prepared for trial, with everything set for January 21st. The bombshell Tuesday morning, January 20th, 2026 arrived, just one day before jury selection was supposed to start, and prosecutors dropped all the witness tampering charges. No explanation came with it. Drew Finling and Carrie Howout released their statement. On behalf of Jamel Demons, we welcome the dismissal of the alleged tampering and gang-related charges in court this morning. As his newly retained legal team, it became immediately apparent to us that no crimes had occurred. Unfortunately, for 652 days while these charges were pending, the state did not reach the same conclusion until the cusp of trial. 652 days. Nearly 2 years these charges hung over Melly's head, only to vanish with no explanation the day before trial. The timing raises questions that have no answers. Why file charges you're going to drop? Why wait until the absolute last minute? Why not drop them weeks or months earlier if the evidence wasn't there? Prosecutors haven't said a word. What's next? With the witness tampering charges gone, Melly's attorneys told TMZ they would now try to free him from Broward County Jail, pending his double murder trial. Though success seems uncertain given the multiple bond requests that have been denied over the years and the fact that Melly has sat without bail since his 2019 arrest. January 2027 marks when the double murder retrial is scheduled, which means if Melly stays in custody, 8 years in jail without a conviction will have passed by the time his case goes to trial again. Conviction brings either life in prison without parole or the death penalty. And there's another complication here. Melly could become one of the first defendants sentenced under Governor Ron DeSantis' new non-unanimous death penalty law, which changed the rules from requiring a unanimous jury verdict to recommend death to needing only 8 of 12 jurors. The victims' families wait for justice still. Christopher, YNW Juvy, Thomas Jr. came from Fort Pierce, Anthony, YNW Sakchaser, Williams from Gifford, and both were young men with their own musical dreams who've been gone since October 2018. The bigger picture what this case represents goes beyond one artist's legal troubles and touches on a criminal justice system that can hold someone for nearly 7 years without a conviction. Witness tampering charges materialize and then vanish without explanation. Art and evidence intersect where song lyrics written years before alleged crimes can be used against their creator in court. And the bizarre reality of modern fame allows an artist to release multiple albums, earn 10 platinum certifications, and maintain a successful career while sitting in a jail cell using nothing but vocals recorded years earlier. Melly has a younger brother who's also a rapper, YNW Slime, born in 2007, and he's watched his older brother's entire adult life play out behind bars. The YNW collective that once had 4 members making music together is now fractured, with 2 dead, one serving 10 years after taking a plea deal, and Melly sitting in a cell waiting for a trial scheduled for next year. The unanswered questions what we still don't know is why prosecutors really dropped these witness tampering charges, what evidence they thought they had for 652 days that suddenly wasn't enough, and whether it was always a weak case or something changed. Melly's ex-girlfriend, the alleged witness they claimed he tried to tamper with, never got to say what she might have said. The role Cortland Henry's cooperation might have played in this decision remains unclear, though his plea deal stated he wasn't required to testify against Melly. Whether dropping the witness tampering charges suggests the prosecution's overall case is weaker than they've let on, or if it simply shows them focusing resources on the more serious charges, nobody can say. Conclusion: January 20th, 2026 brought the end of 652 days of pending witness tampering charges against YNW Melly when prosecutors dropped their case without explanation 1 day before trial. 1 day before a jury would have been selected to hear evidence about whether he tried to prevent a witness from testifying. Nearly 7 years in custody now for Jamel Demons, who faced one trial that ended in a mistrial with a hung jury, watched his co-defendant take a plea deal, saw witness tampering charges appear and then disappear, and now waits for January 2027 when he'll face another jury, another trial, and the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison or facing the death penalty. Murder on My Mind has been streamed hundreds of millions of times, peaked at number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100, made him famous, and was written before the crimes he's accused of committing even happened. Whether Jamel Demons committed the murders of Christopher Thomas Jr. and Anthony Williams isn't something we can determine here. That's what the January 2027 trial is supposed to decide. What we can say is that the American criminal justice system has held this man for what will be 8 years by the time his retrial happens, through one mistrial, through witness tampering charges that were dropped without explanation, and through conditions his own attorneys describe as worse than death row. Justice for Christopher, YNW Juvy, Thomas Jr., and Anthony, YNW Sakchaser, Williams remains unserved. Their families deserve answers, and so does the public watching a case that has dragged on for more than 7 years with no resolution in sight. The witness tampering charges are gone, but the bigger questions remain, and we'll have to wait until January 2027 to see if any of them get answered. The unanswered questions what we still don't know is why prosecutors really dropped these witness tampering charges, what evidence they thought they had for 652 days that suddenly wasn't enough, and whether it was always a weak case or something changed. Melly's ex-girlfriend, the alleged witness they claimed he tried to tamper with, never got to say what she might have said. The role Cortland Henry's cooperation might have played in this decision remains unclear, though his plea deal stated he wasn't required to testify against Melly. Whether dropping the witness tampering charges suggests the prosecution's overall case is weaker than they've let on, or if it simply shows them focusing resources on the more serious charges, nobody can say. Conclusion: January 20th, 2026 brought the end of 652 days of pending witness tampering charges against YNW Melly when prosecutors dropped their case without explanation 1 day before trial. 1 day before a jury would have been selected to hear evidence about whether he tried to prevent a witness from testifying. Nearly 7 years in custody now for Jamel Demons, who faced one trial that ended in a mistrial with a hung jury, watched his co-defendant take a plea deal, saw witness tampering charges appear and then disappear, and now waits for January 2027 when he'll face another jury, another trial, and the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison or facing the death penalty. Murder on My Mind has been streamed hundreds of millions of times, peaked at number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100, made him famous, and was written before the crimes he's accused of committing even happened. Whether Jamel Demons committed the murders of Christopher Thomas Jr. and Anthony Williams isn't something we can determine here. That's what the January 2027 trial is supposed to decide. What we can say is that the American criminal justice system has held this man for what will be 8 years by the time his retrial happens, through one mistrial, through witness tampering charges that were dropped without explanation, and through conditions his own attorneys describe as worse than death row. Justice for Christopher, YNW Juvy, Thomas Jr., and Anthony, YNW Sakchaser, Williams remains unserved. Their families deserve answers, and so does the public watching a case that has dragged on for more than 7 years with no resolution in sight. The witness tampering charges are gone, but the bigger questions remain, and we'll have to wait until January 2027 to see if any of them get answered. Justice for Christopher, YNW Juvy, Thomas Jr., and Anthony, YNW Sakchaser, Williams remains unserved. Their families deserve answers, and so does the public watching a case that has dragged on for more than 7 years with no resolution in sight. The witness tampering charges are gone, but the bigger questions remain, and we'll have to wait until January 2027 to see if any of them get answered.